capital has gone down. Things are not as they used to be. Yeah, we are really in hardship. Women are really not in good shape in Elegu now. Not only this side, even in Nimule side, because we do communicate in business. We communicate, we see them. When the other side things are going on well, we see the why they come and buy things here. But if the other side there's a problem, we face difficulties this side of Elegu. Yeah, things are not okay.
Now more than ever, the cry of the women cross-border traders at the Elegu Nimule borders of Uganda and South Sudan demands the most urgent action. For these women, the challenges stretch beyond those of the COVID-19 lockdown and its effects. For decades, the region has experienced prolonged armed civil conflicts which have left behind traumatized populations and shattered the different communities. The women are left with no choice but to devise ways of surviving together with their families. Sheila Kawamara is the Executive Director of the East African Sub-Regional Support Initiative for Advancement of Women. Her organization conducted a study on how the women cross-border traders continue to survive in the region.
The unique factor about northern Uganda and southern Sudan is the conflict the two areas experienced. For northern Uganda, it was about 20 years, and for southern Sudan, for over 5 decades. Up to now, South Sudan is somehow unstable. So the women generally have been the most affected by conflict, because as a woman, you're supposed to safeguard the children and the family as a whole, but also you're supposed to provide them what to eat, protect them, give them shelter. So women have had a double or triple burden, fulfilling their gender roles, but at the same time, the burden of how do you survive in a money economy. At the time, they were young kids, so the wars devastated their childhood. Many of the women traders we work with are married early, they are young, they are youthful, but you find that majority did not have any formal education. Drink trade is just, I think, instinctively done, that even they don't realize when they are not making profit, because to them, the money they get out of trade is supposed to help them buy something to sustain their families at home.
In northern Uganda, the armed conflict lasted over 20 years, 1986 until a ceasefire in 2007. Many innocent civilians were brutally massacred and over 60,000 children were abducted. Almost 2 million persons in the former districts of Gulu, Kitgum and Pader lost their native homes.
So people were scared. Some were tortured many times of killing, that sometimes you don't want to remember them.
Margaret Ayo is the chairperson of the Elegu Women Cross-Border Traders Association. She shares some of the most disturbing experiences that the women went through during the war.
People were killed, all types of killing. Some were cut, some were shot by gun, some were cut by pangas. Some were beaten. Just you lie down, like in my place. Some laid down, you are just told to lie down, and one by one you are tied, and they will just beat you with a pistol, the head, till you die. I was there. That one is there where I was. And there's a woman whom they cut. They cut the nose, the mouth. They lock it with a padlock. And the ears cut. The lady is there. And the NGO's helper is there. The ear cut, ear cut. And then the mouth was locked with a padlock. She was the only one among those people grabbed who survived, and she was told to go to the authority and tell them that they really existed.
Majority of women and girls were exposed to a lot of sexual violence from the fighting factions.
When you run to the bush, expect to get anyone there, not you alone. Because the many times you run there, you'll also find different men. So it will be upon God's mercy to help you from there. Because when you're there, there's no way you resist. You're all fighting for your life, so you have to keep quiet. Even if you want to do anything on you, will just keep quiet. You have nothing to do. If you refuse to accept whatever they want, they can't even kill you from the bush. After all, there's no one who's going to sue them.
Achiro Harriet Nora is a businesswoman based in northern Uganda. She is the secretary of the Gulu Women Produce Dealers Cooperative. Nora was just a young girl at the peak of the conflict in northern Uganda.
By then, as a girl child, you don't sleep home. When you hear gunshots, you run the opposite direction, the direction you don't know. Anyone else will also run in that same direction. You don't know who is coming. So basically, we all faced it. During that time, everything was normal. But from 6, 7 in the evening, so we would go to class by 9. By 4, we are home. By 6, we are going to find a refuge. By then, we used to sleep at Cathedral. It is now Sacred Heart University. Yeah, that was a place just for sleeping. They would collect everybody around the area, so all of us around that area forgot, like show where we would sleep in that same place. So by 7, we are all there.
For South Sudan, the gruesome civil war that has left millions killed, maimed, or internally displaced has lasted over 5 decades. Across the country, women and girls were severely abused and their rights grossly violated. To date, there is still some instability in the region.
I was born in 1982. During the war, I was born within the war, and I also grew up in the war.
Yomima Semira Ensama is the chairperson of the Nimule Women Cross-Border Traders Association. This icon of a woman has seen it all. She was forced to join the war on the battlefront, later joining the Game Rangers, the Red Cross, and also served as a social worker in the refugee settlement.
Our children died, our husbands died, let me say 3/4 of men died, women remain widows, children remain orphans, and there are so many things that has really happened.
Susan Amina is a trader in Nimule. She lost her husband when the war broke out as she and the children ran for their lives.
أنا يا بجرا مايال في زمن تجرنة أنا بجرا مايال لحد أنا وصل في نمولة. في نمولة كان سلام ما في 94 up to 95 راجل في فرام.
Even then, the traditional patriarchal practices of forcing single women and girls into marriages continued. Alice Yoriko is a fishmonger in Nimule Fish Market. The mother of 5 says that for long she has not known true happiness.
La dua mati ovina tuiko joni zangwa nyipelering isu askere goka nyinti morise lelo jadi nasi obadu de la duma de omunana ni ki dia mate maduru de ma tibatira ito ma kongo ya askere gap jaipi.
As the conflicts raged on and the families lost their land, more boys and men in the region lost their lives on the battlefield. It had initially been the role of the men to grow and hunt for food for their families.
You know, we're subsistence farmers. So my task as a young boy was to wake up early, go to the farm, to cut down trees from the farm because we are communal farmers. Today we go to Tush farm, tomorrow go to my farm, next day go to another person's farm. So on that one fateful morning I was going to the farm and unfortunately I entered the ambush for the rebels and I was taken where I spent 8 months in the bush. Daniel
Chaudhry was abducted on the 26th of February 1999. He was just a young boy when the rebels raided his village and took him captive. 8 months later, he was shot during a fire exchange between the warriors and left for dead. While Daniel survived, many able-bodied men and boys were not so lucky. It would cost the land a significant section of its useful manpower. This led to the massive decline in food production and a heavy reliance on food handouts supplied by governments or institutions like the World Food Programme. Today, despite the silencing of guns and relative peace being attained in the region, there is still very limited economic alternatives for the people that have survived the atrocities of armed conflict. Northern Uganda remains the poorest region in the country. It lags behind on all socio-economic indicators. The region has the highest number of people not expected to survive beyond 45 years. It also has the worst nutrition status and the poorest indices of human development.
Here in Elegu, where we are seated now, during the time of flood, most of this place is full of water. So we go and sleep outside. We sleep on the road. That tarmac you saw, that is the place for accommodation for everybody here, plus your goods. Some of the goods they are put on the roof. And this one also made some thieves to steal.
The prolonged armed conflicts have impacted on national and regional trade and investment opportunities. Southern Sudan, neighboring Uganda in the north, has become an important importer of Ugandan products. Between 80 and 90% of the agricultural and manufactured goods used in the region go through the Elegu-Nimule border.
When you look at the trade between the two countries, at the border of Nimule and Elegu, the main commodities traded along those borders are agricultural commodities, food items. So, without these women traders risking their lives to cross the border back and forth, these communities would be starved of either food products or products they generally use at home. Consumables like soap, cooking oil, and whatever. These are the commodities they normally trade in. So they contribute a lot to the development because if they are sustaining the lives of both men, women, and even the children.
The limitation of education and employment opportunities, denial of property and inheritance rights, especially land for married women, together with forced labor, all remain common abuses that women in southern Sudan and in most areas of northern Uganda face on a daily basis. Across the region, the responsibility of looking after the family largely falls on the wounded and overburdened women, as many men, including the youth, have taken to heavy drinking, drug abuse, and redundancy.
Most of them, if I'm saying 90% here, you're saying they are women. Yeah, they were women who are trading here. So all those brought the suffering for women. And these men cannot help the women. And also the tradition here, which we have here about men. You know, most of the digging and most of the trade done by women, not men. Surely I can confess that. They drink more than women. So the money that is at home, for those who are, I'm not saying all of them are irresponsible. The irresponsible ones, because the women are doing the trade, they now leave most of the responsibility to women.
The failure of the governments to protect women and children from violence or punish the perpetrators of gender-based violence has left many women and adolescent girls feeling discriminated against and totally marginalized, thus reinforcing their status as victims of conflict, unable to enjoy their rights as human beings even when the guards have been silenced.
Men have a system. If you are a woman, at least you are working, you are earning something. That one is there. You will really win the love of the man. But once you are not doing the business and you have nothing to do, you become like a punching bag for the man, because he always says that everything you ask from him. Salt, the man. Candle is not there, the man. Everything at home is the man. So they are taking advantage of women by doing those. Others are even going to the extent of calling women goalkeepers. That for you are just a goalkeeper sitting at home. You are just like at the goal post, waiting for the ball to be brought to your side and you catch. So women are really suffering. Eh? They are beating them, they're doing a lot of bad things to them. Sometimes here we go to, we have our LC1 chairman here, we go to him, and sometimes if he cannot solve them, we direct us to go to the police. We go to the police. They will first have to hear from the other side. That's where women have been pressed down, you see. The other things they will tell you being as a woman, for that's how you talk. The man might go there and only give you 2 or 3 points. They will be on the side of the man. See. Then they will say, this issue has to go and be solved at home. What can you people do for the women? We are crying to you people, do something for us. We need a human right in Elegu here.
However, not all men in the region look to a bottle for a solution or turn to their women as punching bags. Daniel reckons that some men, though rare, are indeed responsible icons in society.
The people of northern Uganda think they've been able to adapt in all these different ways. If you go up country there, you realize that the people who are very hardworking, and they will tell you that, the war in northern Uganda has helped me be better. People like me. Then there are people who will say, the war in northern Uganda has made me not to make it in life. It is the reason why I'm struggling up to now. Then there are those who said, the war in northern Uganda is the reason why I beat my wife, why I drink alcohol too much, or I do this and that, or I don't help my family and all of this. So, it was a good thing and a bad thing too, depending on the choices we make, depending on the worldview, we'll be able to embrace the challenges.
The women cross-border traders who are fighting against all odds to build their resilience after armed conflicts have got informal and unregistered businesses with minimal capital.
The women actually are the pillar of the trade at the two borders. That women cross-border traders are highly pronounced. The unfortunate bit of it is that they do the trade using ungazetted, or what they call illegal routes. So most of the trade they are involved in, it has been in the past, we are trying to transform that, it has been referred to as smuggling. And for them, they didn't know they were smuggling, they know that is how they've always done trade, but as a EASSI, we are trying to change that narrative so that we are able to see the women as contributors to development. And when they pay taxes, governments will respect them, they will even see them as the contributors.
And in order for what she says to be achieved, the following needs to be done. The process of having South Sudan fully integrated in the East African community needs to be accelerated in order to ensure the implementation of the protocols and agreements of the community. There is need to support awareness creation for women cross-border traders about the East African community customs and common market protocols and the existing trading systems and procedures, and also monitor and ensure their effective enforcement. The governments of Uganda and South Sudan should continue to hold bilateral meetings, particularly for the small-scale informal women cross-border traders, so as to help create a more conducive environment for trade and investment. EASSI commits to continue working with the East African community, the governments of Uganda and South Sudan, and the women cross-border traders in order to build their capacity so as to trade profitably and with dignity.